Welcome to Living with Bitachon, written with Hashem's help by Avraham Chaim Meir Bento. We hope you enjoy this book. Opening quote: "One attains peace of mind and a sense of reliance upon Hashem in the way that a servant must rely upon his master. If one fails to rely completely on Hashem, he must inevitably rely on someone else or on his own prowess. And then Hashem withdraws his providence. As a result, one loses part of his attachment to Hashem and is liable to meet with failure." Shar HaBitachon. Opening scene: Master of the Universe. David sat at his desk in the bustling office of Oak Haven Capital, the company he had founded and grown over the past 15 years. Unrolled blueprints covered his desk. An Upper West Side luxury tower near the Met, a Williamsburg waterfront redevelopment already courting Qatari investment, a Tribeca penthouse with an NVA client in escrow. Each project was a statement piece, proof that under David's lead, Oak Haven had grown from boutique startup to an insider's powerhouse, discreet, coveted, always one step ahead. These were the deals murmured over cocktails at the Core Club, floated between bites of Wagyu at Reserve Cut and invite-only rooftop galas. The kind of portfolio that made real money lean in. David's sharp mind, relentless work ethic, and Ivy League swagger had earned him more than just admiration. He was the one everyone wanted to invest with. His phone buzzed. Another missed family dinner. Miriam's text was gentle but pointed. "Rachel's play at the JCC started 20 minutes ago. She keeps looking at the empty seat next to me." David sighed. He glanced at the family photo on his desk, taken years ago when Rachel was still small enough to sit on his shoulders. They'd been walking through Central Park after Sunday bagels. Rachel was scared of the crowd, so he hoisted her onto his shoulders, told her she was the captain of the ship. Miriam had captured the moment just as he steadied her, Rachel's tiny hands clutching his forehead. He had felt like a king then, like a protector. When was the last time he'd done something like that? The frame sat next to a thick stack of contracts, a fine film of dust settling across both the frame and the contracts. The intercom crackled. "Mr. Marks, the investors for the Hudson project are waiting in the conference room." David swallowed. His eyes flicked to the clock, then back to his calendar. "I'll be right there," he said, straightening his tie. He paused at the door, looking first toward the framed picture, then out the tall windows to the clear blue sky beyond. Something tugged at him, but he couldn't name it. That uneasy feeling again, the muscles in his stomach tightening. He steadied himself. There was no time for that now. The investors were waiting, and in David's world, time was money. He walked down the hallway toward the conference room, past framed awards, and oversized photographs of his real estate holdings that tracked his rise. His Ferragamo shoes barely made a sound on the perfectly polished floor. He had become like that, present but not present, successful but not successful, alive but not quite living. Somewhere deep inside he knew, in building his empire, he had lost touch with his own life, his family, his time, and even himself. Scene 2. Another sleepless night. That night, after a long day, David lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, sensing himself at a crossroads. The business kept growing. More calls, more clients, more meetings, more expectations. It had been months since he had truly slept. He groaned and turned onto his side, trying to avoid what he knew deep down. It wasn't the pressure of the business that was squeezing him. It was the quiet ache of being a stranger in his own home. He turned to his left and looked at Miriam. She always seemed to want more. Clothing, jewelry, a better car, a bigger house. When was the last time they had even shared a simple cup of coffee, let alone a real conversation? He sighed, trying to push away what he knew in his gut. It wasn't things she was longing for. It was him. A line from some forgotten argument drifted back now, soft and sharp, all at once. At least when you buy me things, I feel you love me. He had brushed it off then, hearing only the surface of the words. Now, in the stillness of his bed, he heard the ache beneath them, a desperate reaching for something she could no longer name. She hadn't been asking for more. She had been asking for him. But he hadn't known that. He thought providing was how you proved love. And to provide, he had to withdraw deeper into work, into pressure, into the chase. Each gift she requested was really a question. Are you still here? Do I still matter? But he had heard it as pressure, and so he pulled further away. Now, he didn't know how to fix it. He turned to his right. Only the blank white wall stared back, stark, empty, like his own life. The glare of the alarm clock cut through the darkness, its oversized red numbers waiting to flash and beep. Another night, barely a wink of sleep. A thought floated up from somewhere deeper. A few weeks ago, Isaac had said something, almost in passing, like a seed planted without fanfare. They had been standing in the hallway after a long meeting, coffee cups in hand, faces worn from exhaustion. David had made some offhand comment about never sleeping anymore. Couldn't sleep either, he had said. Started going to the early minyan, morning prayers at the shul. At the time, David had laughed inwardly, another dreamer, completely out to lunch. But now, better to move than lie there waiting for that shrill alarm to remind him of everything he didn't know how to fix. It was still dark out, when for reasons he still didn't understand, David found himself driving through the pre-dawn streets toward the small shul he'd driven past 1,000 times but never entered. Third scene. Arriving at shul for the first time. When he arrived at shul, something unexpected. His grandfather's voice echoed in his head. A Jew's day begins with acknowledging who really runs the world. As he crossed the threshold into the Beit Midrash, it came again. Who really runs the world? Is it you or something more? The atmosphere inside was different. The kind of different you feel more than you see. It reminded him of an old movie. Edges of the frame slightly blurred, light crackling, air sparkling into a soft glow. The air felt charged, like it was carrying something ancient, something sacred. He stood there for a second, not sure what to do. He felt like he had stumbled into a scene from 2,000 years ago. Men, wrapped in white talit, with small black boxes tied to their heads, moved around the room. Not rushing, not distracted, almost floating. Someone with a thick white beard caught his eye, gave him a smile, nodded him toward a seat in the back. David slid into the seat, exhaled. At least he could tuck away here, unnoticed. In this place, he thought, you didn't need to believe in God. You could feel the energy in the room. It was just there, undeniable. He leaned back, let himself settle, tried to keep his eyes open. Ironically, after so many sleepless nights, he dozed off without meaning to. A rustle woke him, the sound of men rising to their feet. At the front, a man tapped gently on the bima, the Amidah, the 18 blessings. The room shifted. Everyone stood and waited. David's brow furrowed. He leaned toward the older man beside him and whispered, "Why is everyone just standing still?" Inside, he was really thinking, "They woke me up for this?" The man leaned in, his voice gentle but steady. "We're not just praying. We're syncing up, waiting for the moment night becomes day, darkness becomes light, aligning with Hashem's rhythm." Then, as the sun broke through the windows, the men began to whisper. A flicker of memory, his grandfather, whispering, feet together. Ah, thought David, this was what he had been doing. David stood there, watching, not moving. Like discovering a hidden algorithm, he began to see it. This moment, when night turned into day, that's when they prayed. The darkest moment came just before first light. If you could align with that shift, when the darkness became light, maybe your soul could rise with it. He'd never seen prayer this way, not as words, but as rhythm, as timing, as transformation. This wasn't random. This wasn't mechanical. It was a dance, precise, deliberate, timed with something larger than the day itself. a sacred pattern pulsing beneath the noise. It was the opposite of how he lived, not pushing harder or running faster, just showing up in sync with something deeper, something eternal. Maybe it wasn't all about building. Maybe it was about aligning. And for the first time, he wondered if this was what he'd been missing. Maybe, he thought, there were rhythms in the world he had never even noticed. David stood there, not moving. Something hit him hard. The precision, the coordination. There was a whole system here, not made by men, not taught in business school, one he'd never seen, one that had been running quietly, faithfully, in the background of Jewish life. A sacred order, not invented, revealed, and for a man who had built his life on intellect, who prided himself on knowing it all, that realization knocked the wind out of him.